All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as we come to the end to the day one lecturing portion that I'm going to do, um, I have taken a picture that I grabbed from Google Images and I removed the text from it and put in my own text. I kind of liken when you're working on a website to a three-legged stool, where for the stool to work the best, it should have all three legs. You might be able to get away with removing this middle leg and still have it working, but it works the best when all three legs are there. So what we've been concentrating on thus far has been HTML. HTML is hypertext markup language. It allows us to put content on our web page. Tomorrow we're going to move into CSS, cascading style sheets. And that allows us to style that content, that CSS that we put in. So the CSS, or I'm sorry, the HTML is really the words that are on the website, the pictures that are on the website, the charts that are on the website, videos, it's everything. The CSS, the cascading style sheets, is the styling that makes that look like what it is. All right. And finally, then on the third day, we'll go over JavaScript, and that adds interactivity to a website. So if you've ever gone to a website where at the bottom of the page, it'll do something like it'll show you, for example, the current date. Or if you go out to a website, maybe it says you are the 547th visitor to this website. You come back the next day and now you're the 560th visitor to the website, etc. That interactivity is provided through JavaScript. And that's what we'll work on the third day. So as we finish up with day one, what I wanted to do to transition in from HTML, the hypertext markup language, to CSS, cascading style sheets, what I wanted to do to transition from one to the other was I wanted to come in and I wanted to talk about classes and IDs. All right. So this is out on W3 Schools, and it says the HTML class attribute is used to specify a class for an element. This is the key point. Multiple elements can share the same class. All right. What if I decided I wanted to create something where, going back to what we looked at before, on our form here, what if I decided I wanted, wow, this is really a cool purple. I want the background color, let's say, of the entire form. Let's say I want that entire form to have a background color of purple in it. All right. Well, what could I do to do that? All right. And I'm going to show you very quickly. I could come in, and where I've got this, I could say the whole document, which basically here would be, I'd say probably body, comma, HTML. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say background. We'll say background color. Let's use a different, well, we'll use purple. Is there a light purple? It's a light pink. Are there any offshoots of purple? That's fine. We'll use purple. All right. Now, as you could have noticed, as soon as we switch back here, looks a lot different, right? And that makes sense, I would think, to everybody. But now this is purple, even though you can't tell, and so is this. All right. And what if I wanted, I wanted to share, instead of putting two of these in here, instead of having this in here and this in here that both say background color purple, I want to just be able to put it in there once. So I want to create a class. Okay. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a class. And you create a class by using what's called just a dot. All right. And we're going to call this, again, this is a bad name, and I'm going to give it a different color just so you see it. I'm going to say we'll call it golden. Not a good name, but I'm going to use that anyway. All right, and I'm going to say here, background color golden. Okay, and I'm going to leave the stuff in here that I've got, except on the body in the HTML, I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, now as soon as I get rid of that, you'll know, because it's white again, right? Looks the same way that it did to begin with. But what I want to do is I want to go in and in a few places in here. So, and I'm just going to pick out some of these arbitrarily. So my header, my first web page, not there. We'll do the one here, the world's best chocolate chip cookie. And I'm going to say class equal golden. All right, so what did that do? It's very obvious when you look at it. Should be, but it isn't. Well, that's interesting. Let's see what I goofed up on. H1 class equal golden. Dot golden. Oh, background color should not be gold. Golden's not a color. Gold. Okay, now let's see if that fixed it. See that? It also shows you that an H1 is a block level element because it's taking up the whole thing here. All right. So I'm going to go and throw golden on a few other things. So I'm going to go down to a couple of these elements that are in here, and I'm going to say class equal golden. I wouldn't normally do this on an unordered list, but just so you see it, I'm going to grab that one, and we'll grab that one, then we'll go into the ordered list, and we'll grab that one, and we'll do the table, and finally we'll go down to the bottom paragraph here and we'll put that there. All right. Well, take a look at everything that's now golden. All right. So when you want to be able to go and style multiple HTML elements and use the same style on multiple elements, you use a class. Now you might say, well, we were doing that before. No, we weren't. All right, because when we were doing this earlier, what we were actually styling were different types of elements. For instance, we were styling maybe a label, but just a certain label, or a text box, but just a certain text box, etc. If I decided I wanted all of my, let's just say we want all of the labels in here to be pink that are in here. Well, then we could have come up and made another class dot pink. Again, you shouldn't really name names like that, because if it were to change, then you'd have to change the name too. But I'm going to say it here and call that pink. All right. Now I'm going to remove this from my label where I'm going to remove all of these. How's that? So all these labels in here and the inputs. So all that styling that we put in there before, and again, just so you can see it, now it's all back to its regular color. All right. Now let's go in and we want only text boxes. So that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. All those text boxes should have a class of golden. All right, now there's better ways of doing it than what I'm about to show you, but what I'm about to show you should work. So here was our form. So everywhere we've got in here type equal text, I want to replace type equal text space. Oops, I want to replace it with type equal text class equals pink. All right, so all 5 of those places replace all. So there's class equal pink, 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 pink. All right, let's see if that worked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. This didn't work because that's not type equal text. That's type equal email. That's type equal phone. But now those are all pink. Now, on the other hand, if we go back in here and we take a look at in here, anything that's got an ID, all right, anything that has an ID. So for instance, here we've got ID. Let's grab something that's not in there. Let's give something else an ID. All right, so here we've got class equal golden. That's our paragraph. And let's put in here, in fact, let's do this. Let's put a footer in here. All right, and we're going to give the footer, even though we wouldn't have to do this, I'm going to give it an ID that's equal to footer. All right, and I'm going to put a paragraph in here that says want to see our href equals, I'm not going to have this go anywhere. Legal disclaimer. All right, and then we'll put in another paragraph, and that will say ampersand copy 2021. I'm going to put in my JP Scott Enterprises. I'm just making that up. All rights reserved. And yes, I do have 2 T's in my last name. All right, so save that. Let's go back to here and let's take a look at the bottom now. So that's what we added. Want to see our legal disclaimer? That stuff. All right, and I gave it an ID of footer. Why? So I want to come back up here into my CSS now. And I'm going to get rid of all this stuff we had in the golden and the pink, etc. It's all gone. Boom. What does that mean? Well, it means this all looks the same way it did before. See that? It's all just white. All right. But I want this to change. Just that. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say ID, which is the hashtag of footer. So for an ID of footer, what do I want to do? Close this. Well, the first thing I want to do is I want it to have a smaller text size. So I'm going to put in here font size 50%. So I'm going to make it 50% of the size it normally would be. And I'm going to give it a color of white. And I'm going to give it a background color of black. All right, now let's take a look at how that changed. There it is. The text size is very small, but it's all in there. All right, maybe that's a little bit too small. So let's make some more changes to that. So instead of 50%, let's make it 75%. All right, let's make the width of this equal to 50%. And again, you'll see what I mean by that in just a second. All right, and let's make a line height in here of 1.4 m. And what else? I'll put a text align center. Sorry about that. So I left off on this, and let me go back to where I was, and I don't think I've saved. So this is what should be in the footer. So it should be 75% of its size. The color should be white. The background color should be black. The width should be 50% of its size. It should have a little line height, so it's spaced out a little. The text align should be center, and the font weight should be bold. I'm going to save this and then go back. And see how it's changed? All right, that's now centered. And I've only made it 50%. That's why it looks a little funky in there. But notice what I changed. So what I want to do is I want to quickly, again, the HTML class element is used to specify a class for an HTML. The attribute is used to specify a class for an HTML element. Multiple HTML elements can share the same class. And they've got examples. All right. I'm not going to run through any of that. The class attribute can be used on any HTML element, and it is case sensitive. All right. And that's fine. You can take a look through that if you're so inclined. Now, an ID, on the other hand, is used to specify a unique ID for a single element. You cannot have more than one element with the same ID in the same document. Technically, you can, but you shouldn't. You never should. And whereas classes start with a dot in your CSS, all right, IDs start with a hashtag. And again, there's some stuff in here. Now, I thought this was a pretty good article. The difference between ID and class. It says, IDs and classes are hooks. We need ways to describe content in an HTML document. The basic elements do the job, but our set of basic tags doesn't cover every single possible element or layout choice. For this, we need IDs and classes. So for instance, if I go in here, this is the kind of thing you're going to see tomorrow. We're going to take our unordered list, all right, and I'm going to combine that. So I'm going to come in here, and where we had this unordered list in here in our header, this will now be inside of nav. All right, like this. Move that over. And let me tab this over. But I will also give it an ID equal to nav. All right. Now, just as a little prelude as to what we're going to see, okay, that did not make this look any different whatsoever. Still looks the same as it did. See that? No change. But I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, again, just so you can start to see this. So for our nav, all right, and in fact, I gave it an ID of nav. All right, and I'm going to say in here, display inline block. That's all I'm saying for right now. I'll make some more changes in just a second. What did that do? Again, much easier to show you. All right, well, maybe I screwed it up. Let's see. What is it? Is it just display block instead of inline block? Why aren't you working? Display block. All right, well, I'm going to show you. I'm pleading my own ignorance here. I don't know what the problem is, but we're going to figure it out right now before I finish this particular lecture up. So let's see. We don't want that one. We want a horizontal one like this. Vertical, horizontal. So it's display inline. Oh, oh my goodness, Jeff. It's the LIs that we want to change. Yeah, that's fine. So we come in here and we say nav LI. We want those list items to display block. What did that do? Where are you? Oh my gosh. Well, I don't want that one. This is what I want. So let me just grab all of this. All right. Rather than me fumbling about. Now I'm going to have to make a change on this, but that's fine. So there's the UL. And I don't want all my ULs and LIs to change, just the ones for the nav. And let's see if that accomplished what I wanted it to accomplish. See that? Now we can also come in there and start doing a couple of other things here. All right. Again, I'm just quickly introducing this to you. I'm at 22 minutes already, so I'm already over my time. But I'm going to put in a couple more things. All right. So I'm going to take these nav, this unordered list. Let's see. First, let's take the nav and my H1, and I'm going to float that to the left. Again, this is all stuff that we're going to be talking about tomorrow. Did that change anything? Doesn't really look like it. Now, this may not exactly work the way I want it to work, but this will give us a start to what we're getting to tomorrow. All right. See that? I actually want that to be over here, but I don't really care. That's okay. And I'm going to come in and say, for my unordered list, say I want these list items to have padding of 1 rem, and I want them to have margin of 1 rem. All right. See that? That's what we're getting to. And I'll pick it up there tomorrow.